Have you ever tried of learning something new, like the guitar, coding, or the muscle up, but you keep getting stuck in endless tutorials? You're grinding, you're watching videos, but nothing's clicking. And after a few weeks, you just quit. It's not your fault, you're probably learning the wrong way. And in this video, I'm gonna help you fix that. First, before you learn anything, you need to get two things clear: what you're learning and why you're learning it. Most people skip this step and wonder why they feel stuck or unmotivated. For example, learning the guitar is not the same as playing for 100 people. Learning just to code is not the same as building a viral app or getting hired at Google. These are different levels in the skill ladder, so you have to be specific on what's your actual goal. Now ask yourself this: why do I want this? When I was in university, I didn't enjoy learning logic puzzles and problem solving tests, but I had to because they were the gatekeepers for the job interviews, especially in finance and tech. And after doing over 200 of these tests, I finally secured a job. And that was extrinsic motivation, which means you do something for external reasons, like in my example, to get a job and to make money. But when I started learning calisthenics or making content, no one was forcing me, I just loved it. And that's what we call intrinsic motivation. You just do something because you love it. Personally, what I found, the skills I learned the fastest is the ones I enjoy the most, because the reason is internal and I don't need any willpower, I just want to do it. Here's a quick test: if no one saw you do it, will you still learn it? If the answer is yes, then you found a skill that's worth chasing. Now I'm going to introduce 3 principles that's going to help you learn fast. This has helped me learn a ton of skills, like playing guitar in front of 100 people, learning really hard calisthenics skills, and whilst working in finance, helped thousands of businesses finance £22 million in loans in total. So that's enough of me bragging. Let's move into the first principle, which is simple, but most people skip it. It is to stack the fundamentals. Every big skill that you want to do is just a stack of smaller ones. Like you want to play the guitar, you don't start with the whole song. You start with chords, transition, rhythm, sections of the song, and then put it all together. And once you master all of those, the full song comes alive. Because it is a chain reaction where one skill flows to another. It's the same thing in calisthenics. Like I've been in calisthenics for the last 6 years and helping people for the last 5 years. 90% of them want to learn one thing: the muscle up. And most of them can't even do 5 pull-ups, and they just keep jumping and hoping it will happen. And it doesn't, and they get frustrated. So what I always tell them is not to chase the full move, break it down. Learn these first: 10 pull-ups, 5 explosive pull-ups, bar transition, and 20 dips. Once you get good at this, then you attempt the muscle up. You have 100% of more likely of doing it than just jumping around. So once you learn the basics of the skill, stack these bases, then the breakthrough will come easily. Because the better you know the base, the faster you reach to the top. Kind of like a game where you can't beat the final boss until you beat the small ones first. Moving on to the second principle, which is to fail fast, then fix it. So in school we're taught that failure is bad. And yeah, failing in the final exam is terrible. But failing a mock exam, that's how you're going to get better than everyone else. Even Michael Jordan, the second best basketball player of all time after LeBron, said it best: I failed over and over again, that's why I succeed. That's something I totally agree. I even had that poster back in my home in London to remind me that failure is just part of the process. This is something I actually learned in school. When I was in college, I was getting D's in my physics exam, and my parents even the teacher was brutal. My teacher told my mom he's not progressing as we hoped. I was a top student my whole life. That really hurt. And that night I got severe rambling from my mom. The good thing about it was that it was a mock exam. So for the next 9 months before the final exam, I did 1 physics past paper a day for 9 months straight, which was about 270 past papers in total. When I first started, I was constantly getting D's, but every time I read the mark scheme and the notes, I was slowly understanding where I was going wrong. My final exam, I ended up getting an A and got into the university of my choice. That's how I learned about the learning loop, which is fail, reflect, fix, then repeat. For example, let's say you learn the guitar. First thing you're learning is the 4 basic chords. So what you do first is play the 4 chords, record yourself. Now listen back. Where does it sound off? Are you missing transition? Is the rhythm slipping? And you practice again with those things in mind. And when you repeat that process 50 times, you'll be ahead of 95% people who just watch tutorials. Because to learn anything, it should be 80% action and 20% theory. So in a 5-hour period, it should be 4 hours practicing and 1 hour learning. But one quick warning here: not all failures are the same. It really depends on the skill you're learning. For example, if you're learning the guitar, about 99% is in your control. But learning to go viral on YouTube, it's not just a skill that you do, it's timing, algorithm, and trends. Even Mr. Beast, who's the most subscribed YouTube channel in the world, doesn't always hit PRs, but what makes him successful is that he keeps showing up, which relates to our next principle, which is long-term consistency beats short-term intensity. Most people, including myself, when they want to learn something new, go all in for like a week. They cram tutorials, grind for like 3 hours straight, and by day 10, they're completely done. Burnt out, wiped, and the skill progress gone. And I'll be honest guys, I'm talking from experience because I've done these things myself. But what really changed was watching this clip from Joe Rogan podcast where Firas JB, one of the best MMA coaches in the world, explained how to train smarter using the UFC and the MMA as an example. So what he suggested was the best athletes in the world, which is Russians and the Cuban fighters, train at 50 to 70% effort every day. Not 100% effort 3 times a week like most fighters. But why? Because they can recover faster, which means they can train more often, which means they can build skills way faster. And if you know anything about the UFC, it's a skill-based sport because it's a combination of over 5 different martial arts in one sport. So the general rule was volume over height for long periods of time. And since I watched this clip, it's changing how I learn skills and train calisthenics. So 6 years ago when I was first learning the handstand, at first I'd go hard, 2-hour sessions 3 times a week. It was intense and my shoulders were hurting, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. And after a few months of that, I switched to 30 minutes a day every single day. That's it, no burnout, no soreness, just reps. And by doing this in 3 months, I was able to do 30-second handstand consistently because I kept exposing my brain, my body to handstands and time to adapt. So if you think of your brain as a muscle, which it is, would you max out on deadlifts every single day? No, you'd probably break or get injured. Same thing with learning. You need daily reps, not occasional marathons. Because when you're learning something new, you're rewiring the neurons. And to rewire and build neurons, you need time, frequency, and recovery. So in a way, it sounds counterintuitive. But if you want to learn fast, you have to learn slower. Not by pushing yourself at 100% occasionally, but by showing consistently at 50 to 70%. Building reps, building rhythm, and keeping it sustainable. Of course, there are times to build the intensity up, especially if you have an exam or a competition, but generally it should be volume over intensity. And just referring back to the video with Firas.
If you don't want to go training, it's not fun. If it's not fun, you're not going to do a lot of it. And if you're not going to do a lot of it, you're never going to reach mastery. So how do I make it pleasurable? How to make it fun?
He suggests that learning and training should be fun. It should feel like play, like flow. Because when you're in flow, you're fully focused, time disappears, and your brain locks in new skills way faster. But when learning becomes a grind, you dread it, you procrastinate, and you become anxious. So instead of trying to learn something new for 4 hours straight, break it down to 30 minutes, 1 hour, 90 minutes. By doing this, it's going to be easy to start and hard to stop. And best of all, you're not going to be anxious knowing that this is only a small part of your day. By doing this consistently, you're going to start building momentum. And as you get better with the skill, you're going to do it for longer without even trying. If you have ever learned how to drive, you know the first hour is the most challenging hour of your life. You have to learn so much about steering, mirrors, braking, and by the end of your first class, your brain is bamboozled. But as you keep doing it over and over again, drive for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours becomes easier. And that's pretty much the same for almost every skill. I want to give you a real life example of these principles that I used this year. So 3 months ago, I did my first ever bodybuilding competition. To get stage ready, I had to learn posing routines, stage presence, how to cut and manipulate my diet, and how to look my best during the stage. It was overwhelming at first, but I broke it down to smaller skills and drilled them daily. I practiced my posing 30 minutes a day for 30 days straight. I recorded myself, I got feedback from the video, and from my friend Jun, I repeated the loop: fail, reflect, improve. And on show day, even though I was a bit nervous, I nailed my routine and placed third in my first ever competition. And it's not because I went all out every single day, but because I followed the 3 principles that I'm sharing to you now. So lastly, the final recap to learn anything faster. Number 1, stack the fundamentals. Master the basic first and break the big goal into small skills. Number 2, fail fast, then fix. Every failure is a feedback. Use it, improve, repeat. Number 3, consistency over intensity. Sustainable effort wins. Flow beats the grind. Have fun and you'll stick with it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Comment down below what skills you're learning right now. Lastly, I've been learning Muay Thai and I've been loving it.